Welcome back to the LEC after Vitality took down Excel. Now I'm Drakos here with my buddy Caedrel to analyze their early game warding and movements.
I can't take you seriously with that.
And nobody can, but I want it and I will wear it as is my machine-given right.
Okay.
Anyway, we're here to talk about early game. There's a lot of great things that Vitality did in this early game. Caedrel, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, it's a big chain and all starts with Perkz. So we'll just play the clip if possible, because what Perkz does here is he gets the first mid wave in and then he just transitions his kind of push to getting an early ward. And we'll see it in a second because this early ward is so impactful. The League of Legends game is a lot about dominoes. You know, one falls, the rest fall with it, right? Yes. So as the play kind of continues, you see just play after play after play happen.
And here's the thing. This is where we get a little ham-fisted because he tried to sneak it in. If we could roll the clip, what we will see is... Here we go. Early game, early information, super crucial in a competitive game like this. The smallest difference between when you ward and where you ward can tell you everything you need to know in the early game.
Yeah, so let's track it. Ward goes down. Now, they don't really know where Marcoon's starting, right? They just want the information. And if we could pause it right here, they actually saw Marcoon on this ward a little bit earlier on. So what Haru said to himself was, I want to gank this top lane because it's pushing into my Gnar, and Marcoon can't be there behind the enemy top lane for a force 2v2. So it's a free 2v1. So if he continue playing, good gank gets Finn's flash. Now you can see the snowball effect come in, and this is where like the individual price of Alphari comes through. Because what we'll see in this solo kill is if we could pause it right now, that'd be brilliant. So he's level 5. He's going to jump on a creep as his auto attack hits, and as we play it out, he's going to level up mid-air and then ult him to surprise Finn. Now, Finn had no flash, so incredibly good awareness there from Alphari, knowing exact timer of level up to punish him mid-air on a jump, which Finn doesn't expect. Then what happens is Alphari crashes the wave and he bases. But then it opens up another play for Vitality, because what happens when a wave crashes is the wave bounces. So Finn knows his wave's pushing and he tries to crash it, I think, as quickly as possible. Stack the wave as big as possible so he has a threat of crashing it. But then, of course, Haru and Alphari say to themselves, well, Finn hasn't crashed his wave yet. He hasn't got a jungler nearby. Easy kill.
I mean, and they're just getting absolutely bullied here, and this is credit to them for identifying the single weakness, for taking, remember, again, a single ward, giving them information to pull off a gank that if Marcoon had been in the area, without that vision, they wouldn't have gone for the play because they might have lost out on the 2v2.
Exactly, you're completely right. So what XL decide here is, if we could pause for a second, Herald spawning really soon. Top side is doomed. XL say to themselves, the only way we can test his Herald is sending our bot lane top. So if we could now roll the clip, what they do is they say to Finn, okay, you're behind, you've got a GP ult, we can maybe use that to our advantage a little bit later on as a kind of a wave clear tool. We're going to send Patrick top, we're going to send Mickey top, the 2v2's not doomed, let's try to contest this Herald 3v3, they have a ward on it, let's go for the fight. But Vitality already start up the Herald, Patrick tries to crash this wave, and he does, but then they're forced into this 2v2, which Vitality can easily match. They try to look for the offensive play. They read the play really well. Again, Vitality here knowing they're going to try to aggress on them as they step up for the wave, and then they get another 2 kills. So I think the awareness of Vitality in this early game is incredible. From that level 1 ward into the gank, insane individual play by Alphari, and this just snowballed such an early lead for Vitality.
And I mean, it's so absolutely massive too, because even Alphari winning on the top side alone might not have been enough, because if you have an Aphelios winning on the bottom side, he can take a lot of plates, he can match the Herald, but the fact that they forced the swap, then also take the Herald, then also shut down the Aphelios pushing with the white gun, the advantages just continue to stack for Vitality. And frankly, if this is the level of early game we continue to see from them, Vitality looking very good and like a sure shot for playoffs.
Great play. All right.
Yeah, well, lads, before you go, I've got an idea. I've got a pitch for the next Dunce Cap delivery.
Okay. Wait, what do you mean Dunce Cap? I thought they were victory caps.
Sorry, well, Drakos, I haven't been entirely transparent with you, but I've done some research
it's a victory hat.
on the University of Ireland, how you would judge a freehand circle drawing competition. So I've got 3 subcategories. The perpendicular bisectors of the chords is something I'm going to be paying attention to. So if you could, and no cheating, I want a freehand.
Freehand circle.
This is the rules. First. 1 press, 1 delivery.
Okay.
No hesitation, and I will be judging on 3 subcategories.
To win the Dunce party hat.
Party hat, yeah.
Okay, here we go. Perfect circle.
Oh, Caedrel.
I've gone for a 1
through. Oh, dear!
It broke. Can I get another try?
I'm sorry, the referees are saying that is your final submission. Daniel Drakos.
My finger didn't leave the tennis tracer.
Ready? You ready?
All of you, baby.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what. That is another pie hat for Daniel Drakos. The angles in a cyclic quadratical added up to 180 degrees. That's all I'm saying.
Can't win in league.
Oh,
can't
baby.
win.
Thank you, University of Ireland, for my second party hat.
Congratulations, man. Have you thought about where you're going to put it?
Yeah, we're going to go, DBZ fans, you're going to know this one. We're just going to go like, we're gonna
He's almost ready for a raid. He's got his shoulders, he needs a helmet.
Yeah, he's got a good Garrosh
I am
cosplay
Jarvan
right now.
the 4th. You may call me Drakos the 4th for the rest of the day.
Wow, it actually works. The shoulder pads, very nice.
I will stab you with my party hats if you disrespect me.
Those shoulder pads are poggers, and from poggers to the pog, the player of the game, Alphari is the one to take it. We had 3 options, and Alphari is your king of that particular castle.
Yeah, had an insane ult in one of the last fights, got 3 people. Then the Ocean Soul Baron fight ended the game off it.
Yeah, and I think early game Haru was obviously a massive contributor in that information that's being communicated as a team-wide effort, but it really is that solo kill that we highlighted on the telestrator in addition to that final ultimate. The confidence in team play that we're seeing from Alphari in this game is great. Again, you heard of it from the cast, but this is a guy who's been known as a lane king and past that kind of a popper as he moves into the later stages of the game, so seeing him clean up the team performance and for the whole team as a whole to communicate so well in the later stages of the game is, again, huge progress for Vitality.
I think Haru's early games the last couple of weeks have just been fantastic already. He's definitely stepped up. I don't know if it's because Bo's now in the region and he's watching scrims and giving advice, but he's had a massive turnaround.
Drakos, this is for 2 hats. If you can summarize G2 versus BDS in 12 seconds, go.
Grabs gets embarrassed by his former team with 10 seconds to spare.
Oh, I'm not proud of that. Yeah, that was pretty good, actually. I don't actually have 2 more pie hats to give you, so you just have to enjoy your shoulder pads. Yeah, no, that was it. That is all we have time for. A very insightful segment from Caedrel and Drakos. I appreciate you. And before we get into this G2 BDS, let's learn a little more about Flakked's infamous pet duck and weird naming convention.
It's ducking awesome.
Oh, nice. Wow. Hey,
quite
punny.
family friendly.
Punny.
I mean, the thing is, I wanted to get a pet because, I mean, I have a dog, but I cannot see him much. And he's kind of old, he's like 13 years already. And I wanted to get a pet because I wanted, you know, I wanted to make myself responsible because usually I'm not very responsible. So I'm like, okay, getting a pet is gonna make me responsible for sure. And I was talking to my dad and I wanted to get a hamster. And my father was like, but like hamsters like doesn't take like much time because I wanted to build as well like, you know, like a link, like a love link between my pet and me. And yeah, and I was like investigating and I couldn't do much with a hamster. Like he could like maybe follow you or something, but he would only follow you for food. So then I was like, I don't know what to do. And my dad was like, what if we get a duck? And I really like ducks and I really love ducks. And I think my family had ducks before. And I was like, wait, what, the duck? And he was like, for like 2 weeks, he was sending me every day information about ducks. And then I was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And we got a duck. I mean, it's really chilling. It's true that he had to go like surgery and stuff. My family and I, of course, were really worried because we thought he was like gonna die. Because he ate 3 nails and 1 rock. And like the nails were bigger than his mouth and his throat and everything. I don't know how he swallowed them. So he swallowed 3 of them and he had to go surgery and stuff. And he was like really weak for like 1 week and stuff. But then he got better and now he's like really chilling. I mean, in August, he's gonna make 1 year already.
Quack.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Quack, quack, quack.
Ah, quack, quack, quack.
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 Quack. Anyway,
Anyway.
we're going back
Private
into
conversation.
Yeah, sorry. We didn't realize we were live.
Fellow duck enjoyers will get it.
Absolutely.
But yeah,
jokes.
we're getting ready for BDS versus G2. Important to know, Limit is back on the roster
Yes, he is.
in place of Erdote. And Limit, for those, well, unfamiliar with him, he has quite a history here in the LEC. He played with Schalke. He obviously played with BDS last split. He's a very engage-heavy support player. His experience, ideally, my expectations are that he's going to be a little bit of a larger voice than Erdote was, and he'll be a lot more responsible for those initiations, engages, trying to be a little bit more decisive with the team, because the team kind of finds themselves with their back against the wall right now.
Yes.
With only a single win or split, it's not great, but there is good news.
There is good news, because do you know who that single win was against?
Tell me.
It was G2 Esports.
It was G2
It
Esports.
was G2 Esports. And I think, look, the way I always kind of look at this is that you can be super negative and everything like that, but at the end of the day, for a team like Team BDS, you can just decide, yes, we can just throw things out there and see what works, see what happens, because they haven't really got anything else to lose. You know, it's in a situation where, and look, you know, you mentioned very briefly Schalke earlier, and I don't want to have too much hopium or copium in me, but the miracle run is still technically possible. So we'll see how today goes, and then we'll regroup and see what happens afterwards.
True. You know, that quote, it reminds me of a Varus quote where he says, fear a man with nothing to lose.
It's true, yeah.
Such a Varus.
It's you got. Well, I mean, that's the whole thing. Like they literally have nothing to other than prove and other than they can do this. So We'll see if they're able to take it on to G2, but if G2 are anything to do in week 5, they've got some pretty good answers themselves. They look pretty damn strong last week.
Yeah, G2's kind of had an up and down split. They kind of went 0-2 and then they went 2-0. Well, they went 0-4 and then they went 2-0.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Let's see if they can make it 4-0. Of course, that fight for playoffs is as close as ever. But without further ado, we're just going to jump straight into the draft, and immediately
no music.
Senna is going to be removed from the bot side of that. Yuumi has been a consistent ban all split long. No felines will be allowed on the Rift today, unless Rengar randomly gets picked. But nothing too crazy.
I would be pretty hype if we got a random Rengar coming out of the bushes, possibly top lane. I wouldn't put it past BrokenBlade to be able to do that, but we will see now with a couple of support bans coming in there, and the Trundle as well against Jankos. So we're starting to see those kind of, early game skirmishing junglers coming back into the meta. Trundle has been very much at the forefront of that, and the Taliyah is starting to see some red side bans.
It's a Poppy first pick. Yeah. You know it, I know it, everyone knows it. She's considered the best jungler on the current patch, and teams will first pick her if Taliyah is not open and available. The question is, what is G2's answer to the Poppy? Because Trundle would typically be used, but fun fact, Trundle's banned. So what direction will they go instead? What will their priority be? Will they just blind pick the Gnar, perhaps? Oh,
I like this.
So more Sivir enjoys. So I can gather who Vitality was scrimming this week. G2 going for a very clearly a team fight composition with both the Sivir and the Wukong. Like, these two, in and of them, they speak for themselves. Knock up, AoE, damage.
They do the thing. That's it. They do the thing. But yeah, again, like you said, like the Sivir with the updates gets help now onto her W, which is her spell shield, and is just built towards being a late game crit AD carry now rather than lethality. So we will see the Aphelios picked into, which I will say for the side of XL last game didn't do poorly, and the Tahm Kench gives him a hell of a lot of safety as well.
Yeah, I think that Aphelios loves champions that want to run into you, right? And fun fact, Sivir's ult is literally run into them!
Everyone, do it!
So I do think that Aphelios is a fine pick, and then the Tahm Kench can also provide very solid peel. But we're going to see, I imagine, BrokenBlade on Gwen once again. Last week, he had back-to-back Gwen games, and he was instrumental in the team's success. Like, a really phenomenal weekend from BrokenBlade overall, and I think that he as a player is so important to the success of G2 that you need him to play well. So giving him a comfort champion, something that he's very confident on, I think is a good look for G2.
Absolutely. You think of BrokenBlade even back on his TSM days, it was very much him on carry champions, him being able to dictate how that top lane, or any lane to be perfectly honest, was being, kind of set up for his team. And now we will start to see some pretty decent counters into it. The Gangplank comes to mind as well, in a little bit of a kind of a safety sense for Agresivoo. The Akali is an old school counter that has been seen quite a few times, but moving kind of forward into it, we are going to see a little bit more kind of focus towards that bot side on the side of Team BDS, as they need to try and keep this Aphelios Tahm Kench safe.
Yeah, they have quite a few options that they could go for here. Ramonata, I think, could also make a lot of sense if they want to try and remove some of these, just strong supports in the current meta right now. I think that G2 have more than enough engaged that I'd be surprised if they went for something like a Leona. If they want, I was thinking maybe a Braum. Sivir Braum can be very good, but I don't know if they really need that type of protection. Bard. I'll be honest,
nothing more need to be said.
No, just Bard. I'm a little surprised. I feel like that they know something that I don't. It could also just be a situation where Bard is a good matchup into Tahm Kench. Maybe they're worried about it as a bot lane. But there's the range support that I was expecting. I wasn't really expecting a little more engaged to come through because, as I said, Sivir Wukong is already enough. You've got a very solid front line, and Gnar is still available. So G2. Oh, I say that. Team BDS, I expect to kind of answer with that because I think it's pretty good into the matchup at the very least early.
I was gonna say though, you say the Gnar is still available. The Gwen can be flexed into mid, and we did see Caps go for it. So the Kennen gets locked in here. Again, another good counter into something like the Gwen. And we'll see what the side of Team BDS want to go for here. And I kind of feel like right now they need just, again, another little bit of damage to kind of maybe smooth out this team fight composition. Because they're kind of going team fight for team fight right now.
Okay, so right now Zoe is looking to be the pick. Zoe's a bit of an all-round champion. She's typically, good at poke. She has very good lane prio, and she makes a lot of sense when you want to pair her with an aggressive early game jungler because they pair up very nicely. She guarantees you that push, and also she can set up very nicely with her bubble. she's not the best in terms of team fights because she's very reliant on being able to land those skill shots, which are pretty unreliable if she's not able to land the sleep. But G2 are fully committing to the team fight. They've gone for double AP solo laners. They've got AD jungle, and then obviously Sivir, which is a team fight monster. I think that like when you look across the compositions, G2's makes a lot of sense. Relatively short range. I mean, very short range actually across the board. But when facilitated by a Lulu and a Sivir, it's just so much actual engage potential. They want to be in your face, they want to be sticking to you, and they want to be fighting to you. And I think that Kennen is a good answer to that because, you know, again, Kennen loves it when you charge into you. Aphelios kind of loves it when you charge into him as well. And then Tahm Kench offers a lot of peel. It ultimately comes down to, can BDS mitigate G2's need to try and dive in, try and force a big team fight? And then on top of that, there's also the early game to take into consideration. Top lane is going to be super volatile. Whether the Gwen or the Kennen gets ahead will really matter a lot in this game. And you remember Sivir, we saw what she was able to do last game in terms of her push and how you play around that. I expect the same thing to happen again for G2. But NUCLEARINT, I expect him to have push in the early game as well. So there's kind of push places all over the map, but I think the top is probably the area that's the most volatile in the early game.
Yeah, a lot of pushing, a lot of pulling. A lot of different things can go very wrong very fast, I feel like, on both sides of it. You can see now both teams kind of set up and ready to go. I'm curious to see what BDS can do. Like we said, you know, fear a man with nothing to lose because this team did take down G2 in the first round robin. I'd be curious to see if they can do it again. Of course, for G2, they're looking to try and capitalize on the likes of of Rogue losing a game earlier today and try and get themselves back up into those standings. So curious to see whether they're able to kind of take this one here as we do see some nice lights and some cool music. Crowd is ready. I'm still not quite adjusted to the intros as such.
It's all right, mate. You'll get used to it. Might take a while to get used to that, though. There are a lot of G2 fans.
I was gonna say, I feel kind of bad. BDS don't really have a chance.
They don't.
No.
But that is often what happens when playing against G2. They are quite a popular team here in Europe.
Yeah. I will say, I remember at the 2019 finals in Paris, which obviously is a match we do not name very frequently here in the LEC, but the fans couldn't quite get the claps down, so it was kind of like really off, and because it was like one half was doing it and then the other half wasn't. So
yeah,
it's nice to see the fans coming together and clapping at the same time.
There's
you know,
a lot of really
coordination.
interesting science behind clapping and how, like, when you take a large enough group of people, they can't actually sync up their claps.
Yes, because the way the noise.
Yeah, especially in like concerts and stuff, which is why a lot of musicians have to have in-ears in their own like clicking, metronome.
It's why a lot of actually fan groups, funny enough, it's actually where Mexican Wave came from, because they wanted to do a chant, but they were like, that's not going to work. So what if we just do like a progressive movement? And that's honestly where it came from. Wow. So it's they were like, noise isn't going to work, even though noise would be great. Let's just do actual movement, and it's just as impressive, you know?
Oh, very cool. Right. Anyway, enough random nonsense from us. Would you mind pressing the runes button for me? And
yes, I can.
And see if there's anything crazy. There we are. See, you're a natural already. So as far as I can tell, nothing too crazy. We're seeing the Lethal Temple once again come out from the Sivir, the area also on the Lulu for a little bit more harassment during the laning phase. Conqueror on the top side for G2. And then, yeah, area on the Kennen. Sometimes you'll see things like the Electrocute, but as far as I can tell, nothing too crazy from both sides. So everything looking pretty standard. The early game also was pretty standard. Nothing too crazy from either side. We did see Jankos doing a red into Raptors into bot side. They will spot out now, BDS, that being. Not very good English, but BDS have now spotted that the Raptors are gone. And that will give them a little bit of information that Jankos is likely on the bot side of the map. So he is playing towards his strong side. And BrokenBlade has to respect it. He doesn't have a jungler.
He doesn't have a jungler, but a flash in because they want to get the stun down. You can see Cinkrof's looking for him, and they know there's no flash on a Gwen. First blood to BDS. And we talked about BrokenBlade on this Gwen. That's not a good start.
That was a really good early gank from Cinkrof. He did the exact same pathing as Jankos, but he converted into an early gank top, and they're looking for a repeat here.
It's going to be difficult to really make this one stick. You haven't got the Wind Wave crashing just yet, and that tower will do a lot of work in the early stages. They're just trying to keep his health bar down. I actually really like this from Cinkrof and saying, you can't really walk up onto this Kennen because we're both here. This isn't a 1v1, it's a 2v1. We're bullying you.
Look at how much farm he's losing as well. He's still in range of the experience, is the good news for BrokenBlade, but Now Jankos needs to make his way up. He's run into 2 people now, so he's going to be forced to disengage. NUCLEARINT has the prio as well. I like how BDS are committing towards the top side of the map, and overall just good play. It's the exact same play that we saw from Haru last game, where you just do your red into Raptors, into Gromp, into top lane gank. And we talked about how this top lane matchup would be the most volatile. If Gwen is able to get an early lead, she can run away. Even though Kennen is considered quite a good matchup into it, she can still do the typical Gwen outscale things, right? But if Kennen can get that lead, then he can be super oppressive, and it can be very difficult for the Gwen to really lane, and you can set up multiple repeat ganks, especially when you get that level 6. So
I love what they're doing as well. It's got full vision of what Jankos is doing. Jankos saying, look, they probably know I'm here, so I'm just going to help you crash this wave so we can get some kind of control back in our top side. And it's back down to BDS to make another play.
Because it's a slow push right now, right? And you could end up in a situation exactly what that Finn was in last game, where you're forced to overextend and there's nothing you can do about it. So they make sure to walk it underneath the tower, because you can see Cinkrof now hovering around the top side once again. If BrokenBlade hadn't been able to push that wave in, he very likely would have been ganked once more.
Jankos has been spotted as well. So both junglers know where each other are, but do they know that they know they know? That's the big question we got to come into this.
Well, we know that they know the Cinkrof's position, but it looks like that they don't know where Jankos is. So.
Yeah, they do know, because he went over the scuttle vision.
That's true.
Yeah, but Cinkrof doesn't know that he's been spotted on vision, so it's all about what you know, you know?
And now what we know is that both junglers are backed.
Yes. That's the end of that.
Let's see what else we know, as I'm looking across the map right now. Resets coming through, items being purchased. So far, 5 minutes in, not the most chaotic. I do apologize that your first week here of this split of the LEC is not just chaos, 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 chaos. We did have it with Misfits, but you weren't casting that game.
I was going to say the first 2 games. I remember everyone was coming in kind of going like, look, you know, it might be a bit slow. Don't be worrying about it. It'll be a bit of a slow burner. First 2 games, bangers.
Yeah.
You know, it's just out of nowhere. Just like, by the way, Brock, so welcome.
It's the classic caster curse.
Yeah, absolutely. But look, you know, it's good to have a kind of slow early game, especially for a team like G2, because I think they are a team that do thrive around the kind of, you know, being able to set the tempo. And actually, Targamas on a bit of an early roam here, again, just to try and shadow in BrokenBlade. You can see how much they have to put in the side of G2's top side, just to make sure that this isn't going to be a terrible crash.
Well, yeah, this is the consequences of the wave being pushed in on the top side of the map from G2, right? They were able to push that in, and then Agresivoo could slow push with the next wave up towards the top side, and Targamas arrived in time to be able to cover for any potential gank, which then gave room for Jankos to be able to make this play on towards the Drake. Yeah, Cinkrof tries to get in range, but the smite was not up. Jankos now going to disengage, and Limit's not going to commit. So, first objective of the game goes in favor of G2. BDS find themselves with a gold lead, and you can see they're gaining advantages top, jungle, and mid. Not that significant, but they are accumulating into something small for the time being.
Like a seed planted now, slowly it grows into something much bigger. See if G2.
And it's ironically nutritioned in blood.
Sure.
Pleasant.
I don't think we needed to bring it there.
I mean, I'm just saying, you know,
I mean,
when you kill your opponents, you get more
you're
money.
Not wrong.
The seed grows bigger. I'm just saying.
It does in fact get. That's just how the nutrients go. But we will see now NUCLEARINT with the Hextech Proto Belt. Sorry, not the Proto Belt, the Hextech Rocket Belts out of prototype now. It's a fully fledged item you can get now. And going to be trying to see if he can make some moves around here. But I just
noticed that. That's such a great point.
Have you never put those together?
I've never put that
That's
together.
Amazing. I've taught you so. The more you know. The more you know.
As a color caster, my job is mainly just to identify the things, not learn the name of things.
I was going to say, I learn the lore and the names.
Yeah.
That's what I do. It's just kind of, it's why I have a big problem with Viego's Q literally being the Blade of the Ruin King. It's really annoying.
So I want to draw attention right now to the fact that NUCLEARINT used his prior mids to push in mids, rotate down into the river, and then you saw this little poppy hovering around here to threaten a dive. This then forced the bot lane of G2 to back away from the tower, securing BDS another 2 plates, continuing to mount up that gold lead ever so slightly. And just BDS, they're leveraging their early game very well, and this is kind of what we expected. We talked about how the Zoe and Poppy do have that strong mid-jungle 2 versus 2, and I think that BDS are really taking advantage of it. They played towards the top side, now they're playing a little bit more towards the bot side, and now the Herald has spawned, and look, these resets have come through, and here comes the collapse.
They're going to try and collapse on the graveyard. Sivo as BrokenBlade pops down the needlework. He does get a 2-man stun, but can he get out alive? That is the question. The answer is yes, he can. And now we're going to see a 2v2 on the top side. As we can see now, Jankos and BrokenBlade trying to run away. Jankos hasn't got anywhere to be, and Cinkrof takes down the enemy jungler. Limit with a very good timely roll and keeps that in the favor of BDS.
And just in time, Cinkrof comes in to save the day. Beautiful play from BDS, and a really good rotation overall. That investment in towards bot, allowing Limit to then get that reset off to then rotate up towards this top inhibitor, meant that the timing was just perfect for BDS. And now they will secure a Herald, they'll get themselves another kill, and they'll continue to build up an even larger early game.
And I love what they're doing here on the side of BDS. I love that you mentioned they're focusing on that top side. They're looking to make this as awkward as possible for G2, because let's be real, last week, like you mentioned, the Gwen for BrokenBlade was massive, so they're making sure it doesn't get to that point.
So in this situation, you can see that G2 recognizes that Agresivoo is the one that they can collapse on, so they try to do just that. The damage is good, but the CC from the ultimate is enough to buy him a little bit more time. He flashes away, and he gets away with...
I think it's like 10 HP.
I was told it's 1 HP. He gets away with 1 HP, allowing BDS to then turn it around onto Jankos.
And that's just an unfortunate moment here. And honestly, I'm loving the game plan coming out from BDS. Just how they've, as you said, that play comes from the fact that they put the priority bot. They were able to push down with Cinkrof, get that kind of push in, get Limit to get a reset, and get themselves back onto the map. So right now, it's a nearly 2,000 gold lead, and BDS are kind of putting a little bit of a magnifying glass on G2 and saying, okay, what do you got?
I mean, it's one of those things where G2 fans are very familiar with this experience. You know, they can beat the best teams in the world, and then they, you know, will lose to BDS.
Yeah.
And,
Twice,
you know, they're
maybe.
just continuing that tradition. Of course, still a long game left to be played. I do think that G2 still have very good scaling at their disposal. A lot of their composition is reliant on the team fights, so I wouldn't count them out just yet. I have my eyes on this top lane as, ooh, an ult comes out from Agresivoo.
Yeah, it's Agresivoo going in with the ult, as is a BrokenBlade. The needlework will do work, as they can see if they can maybe make this one work. No ghost available for BrokenBlade, but he's got a skip and a snip. The electric surge should be good here for Agresivoo. The end of it now, we can start to see that top side matchup slowly turning now towards BrokenBlade. He will have that late game scaling available to him. Of course, still very early in the game, but G2, you can see they're looking for something anywhere they can. Jankos hasn't really been in his jungle for a little while now. He's been between mid and bot trying to make things happen.
Ooh, the positioning here from BDS is really good there, making it very awkward for G2 to actually approach the lane. They can't gain access to the wave. The ultimate.
Oh, that Moonlight Vigil was fantastic. xMatty, and then bopped away is Jankos, so they get a full charge. They'll get the full tower as well. This is honestly magnificent coming out from the side of BDS. They're just... They see him. No, lands the bubble there. The Drowsy will come out. They'll get themselves a Q as well. Tongue Lash will not land, so no licking for you, as everyone kind of walks back with their tail between their legs.
For it, though.
BDS are still hunting. They're still looking for more, and this is confident from BDS.
Yeah, I like the way that they're playing this early game right now, and so much of it stems from this mid jungle. What's interesting is Caps was actually able to rotate first down towards the bot side, but it didn't matter, because the moment that he arrived, Cinkrof made the smart decision to just yeet Jankos out of there, keeping that numbers equal, 3 versus 3 in the bot side of the map. But they had pressure in mid and they had pressure in bot, and because NUCLEARINT could then rotate from mid down into the river, that gave BDS the numbers advantage to force G2 rather, to disengage from the fight, giving BDS not only the bot tier 1, but also the first dragon of the game. And look at that, a what, 3.5k gold lead at only 12 minutes in.
Yeah, BDS in early games, not something we expected to see, but first blood, first turret, first herald, and first dragon, tick, 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 tick. You get all of those fantastic full marks to you now, BDS. And honestly, it just feels like with Limit, they definitely have a more definitive style of how they wanted to play this early game, like you said. And now they're even catching out G2. G2 are desperate to try and find something to bring them back into this game, but full vision and full information has already been given over.
I'm really impressed with what BDS have been doing. Let's see if they can maintain this, because BDS are no strangers to early game leads, I'll tell you that. Last split, they had a really bad habit of getting these really big leads in the early game, and then in the mid game things all fell apart. And I don't know if you had the opportunity to see one of the worst Barons we've ever seen in the LEC, but it was BDS that did in fact just walk away.
Rivals the likes of Dignitas.
Yeah. So, you know, don't count their chickens before they hatch, I believe is the expression.
We'll see. Depends on how many chickens you want to get, but we'll see a flash in there. Cinkrof looking to try and make this one work, but the bubble and the paddle start don't land. Jankos does have flash. He really doesn't want to use it, and he wants the Red Bull, so he'll have his cake and he will eat it.
Okay, so Jankos really just laughing at them right now. Cinkrof committed to the flash. The red buff makes it awkward for NUCLEARINT to land the bubble. Flakked is forced ultimate away, but Jankos, he's the moral victor here as he walks away with his red buff. let's see. BDS committing 4 members towards the top side. Keep my eyes on this Kennen right now, being forced to reset and go and match the bot wave. There should be more plates going in favor of BDS.
Very much should be. We will see Cinkrof and NUCLEARINT trying to go for some plays off to the side. Cinkrof does get the Hex Flash over the wall, pops down the empowered ranged auto attack, which shall do nothing more with the play. And we see a reset coming in for Agresivoo to try and deal with this Gwen on the bot side. And this is the thing with Gwen, is that yes, you can keep her down, but you need to keep her consistently down, because right now, BrokenBlade is picking up plates. The decoy comes out, Jankos and Cinkrof. This is feeling a little personal right now. This is feeling like Cinkrof just wants to have a 1v1.
He certainly does. To be fair, he does find himself with a 1,000 gold lead right now. He's confident. He's having a confident game. And yeah, just nothing but respect needs to be given to BDS for this early game. 3.5k gold lead. They've taken control over bot. They rotated that control up towards top. They didn't want to overcommit towards the top side of the map. I think they could have invested a little bit more time if they wanted to, but they recognized the Herald spawns in about a minute, and they want to make sure that they can buy these items and spend some of this gold. You can see the Kraken Slayer now being completed for xMatty. Means that, hey, I can go top, catch that wave, and we can actually continue to push top, play through top, secure that tower, and then once we get that tower, we push in one more wave, rotate down to Herald, get the Herald, go mid, take the tower, and then what have we done? We've opened up the entire map. So
a lot of things to do.
Well, yeah, there's a long laundry list.
Checklist.
But, it's also a very straightforward and simple one. And look, yeah, right, we just talked about the list. What happens? He resets, he gets his item, he goes top, they have the wave, they push in this wave. The hardest part will now be getting mid prio for them, because notice that G2 have acknowledged that they can't hold this wave, so they've actually put Sivir and Lulu in the mid lane, which meant that for Zoe to be able to get the push in that wave is a lot harder, but they can still access the Herald by moving in through top. So now they push in this wave. Now they move down towards the Herald. And then once they get the Herald, I don't think they'll use it immediately in mid, but that's where I expect them to use it, because Sivir is a pain in the ass to siege against.
Yes. We did mention it in the previous game, but wave clear, and when in doubt, more wave clear.
Right.
That is basically what Sivir does. So I will say, though, without having the first item completed here on Flakked, you don't really have a full access to that. Cap's now level 11, did actually pick up his Rylite's Crystal Scepter as well, as BDS continues some good trends, you know, 3,500 gold lead as they come up towards the next dragon in a minute's time. And we talked about it the last game, but we can, you know, again, the power that this second Herald can give you, not necessarily in terms of gold, but just in terms of presence, is very valuable for any team looking to try and stack those drakes.
Okay, so my estimation would be that BDS will push in the bot wave, they'll use the Herald on mid to guarantee prio, and then they'll look to try and collapse on the Drake and secure themselves their second Drake of the game, because I mean, it makes a lot of sense, right? Playing through these two lanes, Agresivoo's TP should be coming up in a second. Let me just quickly check on that. It's coming up in roughly 30 seconds, which should time up very nicely. Oh, thank you, observers. There you are, 30 seconds on the dot. It times up very nicely with the dragon as well. So BDS kind of have everything set up right now. I think it's fine. I was wondering if they could have pushed another wave bot, but it's okay. So now they use the Herald mid. Now they bring their bot lane into mid lane. They'll bring the Kennen as well. They'll use numbers because they know that BrokenBlade is bot to guarantee this push. They'll make sure that this walks into the tower, and then they'll walk into the bot river to set up for the next Drake.
You'll even see they're just kind of aggressively pushing forward with the Hextech Rocket Bell, pushing themselves in. They won't get the tower just yet, but it is just one push away. And now with the Hex Flash over the wall, Cinkrof might fancy himself. He finds himself a Caps, who does get himself a Demonic Ascension, but the Lulu is dead, as is the Sivir. They don't want the Dragon Vedius, they want the kills, and that seed that you knew needed blood is starting to get pretty damn big into a tree. Jankos, though, you can see the power of this Swain really moving forward. Now they can't kill off the Swain. Caps is still alive. One more auto attack will do it, and xMatty will pick up a double kill. Now BrokenBlade, can he get anything else? Cinkrof is just so on point to protect his bot lane, and BDS get everything.
History just seems doomed to repeat itself as BDS dominate G2 in the 5v5. They pick up 4 kills in exchange for 1. Wow, I was not expecting this to be part of the plan, but Cinkrof, he saw the play, uses the Hex Flash over the wall, gets the flash out from Flakked. A good ultimate comes in from xMatty from the backline as well, and then the wombo combo just comes through. The commitment onto 3 was beautifully done, and then Caps, he lands a good route here, and you think at this point they can turn it around. But look at Agresivoo, he walks away with just barely any HP, does end up dropping, but now we're back live.
They want to go again, Cinkrof is unafraid. Actually, never mind, Cinkrof is very afraid. Never mind, he won't jump back. Looks like he was Hexfracting back over the wall. The Drowsy does come in, that's going to be onto Jankos, a double knock up here. And yes, you may have gotten the Dragon, G2, but do you get out with your lives? The answer is no. It's still 2 minutes until the Baron, but G2, they're getting slapped about the place.
That they are. BDS are leveraging their early game advantages and converting it into winning team fights. BDS are playing these fights very, very well. An important thing to note, Cinkrof didn't hit the bubble target of Jankos. He left him for the rest of his team, and he actually knocked Lulu into the wall, which allowed them to secure 2 quick kills off the back of that fight. So props to BDS. They're playing these fights well. The gold lead is continuing to get bigger and bigger. xMatty finds himself 4-0-2, and it just seems that BDS is the kryptonite of G2.
They really, really are. And we can even see here, Cinkrof, he kind of like beats it out. Look, he's like, oh, I'm leaving, don't worry about it, we're not going to fight this. Never mind, haha, I lied. And then he goes straight back in because they know they're just stronger at this point.
And look, the Drowsy lands onto the Wukong, they don't commit though, and then the 2-man knockup comes in as, I apologize, it's BrokenBlade that ends up getting knocked into the wall, not the Lulu. But regardless, the result is still the same. BDS find themselves with 2 kills. They do lose out on the Drake, but this type of early game is not one that we've seen for BDS outside of the last time when they played against G2.
I was going to say, the last time we saw BDS look this good was against G2, and that's kind of an interesting sign to say the least. But now you're looking at a 2.5 item Aphelios against a 1 item Flakked. Flakked will be relevant in the late game, but you got to get to the late game. This Aphelios is still huge in these fights, and with the pure burst damage coming out from the Zoe as well, you can't just sit there and expect to tank it. You're going to have to try and find different avenues in as G2 if you want to try and come back into this game.
So let's have a look at the map state right now. We can see that BDS is coming to the top side once more. They have 5 members. Jankos is looking for the fight.
He's looking for the fight, looking for a 1v1 right now. Does pop it down onto xMatty, and xMatty's dead. Yeah, ooh, Limit, he flashed in. And that's going to try and save his AD carry, and it's just not going to work. BDS, you can see it there, the little bit of inexperience, not quite able to kind of keep themselves on the straight and narrow.
Yeah, that was a good crafty play from G2, leveraging that push to find a pick onto xMatty, but xMatty shouldn't have been alone in that top side. He shouldn't have been left vulnerable without any summoner spells. Limit did try to flash in to try and consume him, but the range was too great, and he ended up losing his life as a result of that. So G2 will buy a little bit of time, and it's really important because, you know, earlier you heard me talking about how like they're going to do this, into this, into this, into this, into this, and once you have a lead, pushing that lead almost becomes very formulaic, right? And when that formula is broken, as Caps is able to secure a blue from halfway across the map. Once that formula is broken, that can really shift a team's mental, you know? You know what your next step is, but then it suddenly gets interrupted, and now you have to reset, you have to reevaluate the map, and you're like, okay, what is actually our next play? And this will be one of the big determining factors for BDS. They can't just suddenly lose all of the momentum that they've done a great job of building up, and kind of give G2 that avenue to crawl their way back into the game.
Absolutely, and you can even see as well from the side of G2, you got Targamas building up the Mikhail's Blessing, so very much recognizing that he just needs to be the ultimate support in these situations, saying, look, whoever they try and focus on with Cinkrof, we can give them some, you know, basically a free QSS, get themselves out of trouble with that CC cleanse, and keep them going in this game without losing, without hemorrhaging more gold. We are quickly coming up to xMatty, getting up very, very close to his Infinity Edge. Now it's kind of on xMatty to not get caught again. I feel like if he can just play these fights out where, you know, like you said, BDS are taking the formulaic approach, this shouldn't be a bad game for them to be able to try and close out and win.
Yeah, the only thing that BDS have to be really cautious about is this scaling element that we've talked a couple times about. You know, G2 have such a solid, front-to-back teamfight comp that once it gets online will be very difficult to deal with. The question is, can it get online, and can BDS end the game before that point? Dragon spawns in about a minute's time. There's a bit of a contest between the 2 top laners in the bot lane fighting over that prio, but it looks like Agresivoo will be the victor. BDS will secure this mid lane push as well, which means that now they can move into the bot river. I would expect G2 to just give this one up. They don't need to try and fight right now. If they lost that fight, it could mean a Baron. In fact, they're immediately going to move over to the Baron and try and claim some vision over that area. I don't think BDS need to be worried about anything right now. I'd be very shocked if G2 tried to force this, especially with Agresivoo still having the TP. The Dragon spawns in about 30 seconds time, so I guess they do have space, they do have time to be able to make this play. In fact, they're going to push towards the tier 2. force the rest of G2 to collapse onto the mid lane.
You do have a Nash's 2 Gwen closing in from the side there, so BrokenBlade's going to look for something with Caps as well. NUCLEARINT gets caught out a little bit over the side. He's trying to be cheeky with those portal jumps, and now BrokenBlade trying to see if he can catch on to Agresivoo. Caps gets knocked out, so now it's a 5v4 in favor of BDS, but already health bars chunked out. NUCLEARINT and Limit not looking the healthiest, and with 3 seconds still dragging, this could be G2 getting themselves onto Soul Point.
It certainly could be. I'm surprised that G2 committed to a fight there, and I'm also surprised that Agresivoo chose not to flash in with his ultimate, but I guess given the health bars of Limit, they said that it wasn't worth it. Now the Baron is being started. G2 seems very aware that this is happening.
Yeah, this is very risky from BDS, though. G2 not quite fully aware that this is happening, but BDS don't know that for sure. Now a ward goes down as eventually the Dragon will be secured. That is Soul Point, and most importantly, that's a Hex Soul for the side of G2 if they can get it the next Dragon.
So this is where I do have to criticize BDS a little bit. Going for that mid-tier 2, while on paper seems okay, you need to give a certain length of lead-up time when it comes to that Drake in order to make sure that you have control and can actually contest it. But by committing so hard onto the tower, G2 saw it as a window to start a fight, and then by starting that fight, they were able to push BDS off the objective and actually secure themselves the Dragon. Now G2 have a very clear win condition, and you can see it, right? They've gotten themselves 3 Drakes. If they get themselves the 4th, it will give them a large power boost, and it will make their already strong team fighting that much stronger. But it's also bought G2 a little bit more time. So now the pressure is on BDS to be able to control the Baron, force the objective, and either get a good fight against G2 and convert it into this objective, or try and sneak it away.
I think there's a pink ward at the back of the pit, the old Mickey X trick, if you will. Sorry, the Hylissang trick. I think there is, yeah, just right at the back of the pit, just kind of giving them visions. They know that the Baron is not being taken, so G2 just kind of backing themselves away. They have got a 2-item spike now onto BrokenBlade. Big one for Caps as well with the Rylas Crystal Scepter and the Imperial Mandate. And BrokenBlade slowly but surely scaling into that late game. He's getting pretty damn big, and this Gwen hasn't been kept down long enough.
So we should have... Oh, hang on a second. We don't have time for it because the Baron's being started right now. The pings are coming down. Jankos smells something's up. The vision will be spotted by Caps. They know this is going on. Will BDS just flip the Baron?
They're just kind of committing right now. There's going to be a TP into the pit. Limit trying to see if he can play keep away as Jankos gets knocked back. That's the dummy, though. That's not even Jankos. You got baited just as much as they did, and there's going to be the Kennen going down. Now Limit trying to go for it. You've no Poppy. And BDS, your early game was fantastic, but G2 are just running you down around the Baron pit. You cannot close out this game just yet.
BDS felt pressured to try and secure the Baron. You're right, you called it. That Poppy ultimate baited me just like it baited BDS, because I was convinced that Jankos was gone, and the call to then turn for a fight in a 4v5 was good. But Jankos was still there. G2 was able to turn it around. Let's see if BDS can stop this Baron.
You got 3-item Aphelios if he wants to come over here, but it's so risky to go over. He thought about it and then went straight back to pushing in that mid lane. So that's going to be Baron now for G2. That's a fantastic little Red Bull Baron power play to bring them nicely up to that Dragon in 2.5 minutes.
Whew. Wow, and this is the thing. BDS, like, it looked so good. And then Baron came into the picture.
Right up until they were losing, they're winning. The old Skara quote.
So let's have a look back. And let's just keep our eyes on Cinkrof and Jankos here, because really, I think if this ultimate had landed onto Jankos, it would have been massive, but he uses the decoy, dodges away from it, and then look at the turn onto Agresivoo. He gets polymorphed, he gets one shot, and then Cinkrof tries to flash over the wall to help him, but Limit is isolated. xMatty and NUCLEARINT can't do anything. The Baron is actually killing xMatty here, and G2 is in just such a better position to win out on the fight, resulting in a Baron for them. And while the gold lead is still in BDS's favor, it's G2 that have control over the game.
I mean, it was a 5,000 gold lead for BDS, now coming up to about only, not even 1,000, a couple of hundred really at this point in the game. You have got a 3-item Aphelios, but is it really relevant when you're taking fights like this as G2 get themselves a Red Bull Baron power play? I don't really know how you're going to be able to kind of push this back. Look at the gold graph.
And as a small note, if G2 do win this game, they'll put themselves at 7-5.
Yep.
Right? And that means that they'll be tied with XL and Vitality.
Just
and
play.
Like, things are getting super close on our standings, and winning games is more important than ever. And BDS obviously find themselves in a situation where they need that miracle run to be able to turn things around for their season. But just look at how close our standings are right now. If G2 are able to secure this win, they will join the top 5, which seems to be separating.
Yeah, we'll see now. Agresivoo, seeing if he gets caught out here. They never move, not quite able to land. And More pressure coming in this top side. And honestly, this is the great thing when you're on Soul Point. G2, they don't have to go for the Dragon in a minute's time. It would be great, but they have the option of choice. They can decide to go for top side, push in these waves, get Dragon or Vision control around there, and with the Baron still in tow, they have got the quicker resets.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing here. They can secure the top tower, reset in time to actually then return to contest the Dragon and spend some of that money. Flakked wasn't quite able to secure himself the Infinity Edge, which is a lot of damage that he doesn't have at his disposal, but the good news is BrokenBlade does have a death cap. So, you know,
he's big boy.
Swings and roundabouts. BrokenBlade very comfortable on this champion, of course. And here we see the big fight for the next Drake.
Big fight for the next Drake. There are two very good, if not three, very good flank wards here available to Agresivoo on the top side just beyond the blue buff. You can see now the vision for BDS, not great around the pit, but they have got options available to them should they want to go for the fight. And you got to feel like Void Staff, Rocket Belt on the Kennen, this is what you're looking for. They know they haven't been spotted out just yet in what terms of what they're doing. Here's the ultimate. Caps is now out of the fight. It's a 5v4, but BDS, you've only got a limited amount of time where it's a 5v4. They're not quite able to kind of muscle themselves in. They haven't really gotten everything. You see Agresivoo, he wants a TP, and that's exactly what they're going to go for. But it's been spotted out. They know it's coming in because they have got a ward. Now he knows he's been spotted. Agresivoo flashes in. Jankos trying to take out Targamas. They get the double man knockup, but it's a Lulu. So difficult to actually burn that health bar down. It's a fight on two fronts. 3v2 and a 3v2, but look at the Aphelios. Limit goes down, and there's xMatty. Gets a double kill with this BrokenBlade scissors. It's just too damn big. BDS tried everything. They threw everything in the kitchen sink, but G2, they have gotten themselves to the late game.
G2 commandingly win the team fight, and they will secure themselves the Dragon Soul. It was such a good early game for BDS, but they faltered in the mid-game. They lost the Baron, and G2's team comp came online. They're looking to take down as many members as possible. BrokenBlade will pick it up, and they're left to run away with their tails between their legs.
BDS may be G2's kryptonite, but if you smash that kryptonite into a million bitty pieces, that's not really going to do you much good. As we can see here, again, Agresivoo, he really wanted to make this one work, but he's onto the support and jungle, not exactly priority targets.
And you can see that NUCLEARINT is just so far away from the fight, and BrokenBlade's in a position that makes it awkward for the backline of BDS to really follow up, which allows the two solo laners of G2 to win out on this 2 versus 3. The damage initially looks quite good for xMatty, but BrokenBlade is so healthy that he, alongside the rest of G2, can just clean up the fight. And just a well-played fight overall from G2. They handled the flank very well. They were able to isolate BDS on 2 different fronts, and they're able to come out as the victors.
It does feel like BDS now not really in a position to try and fight back onto this one, but it is still a late game of Aphelios. You still have the burst damage from the Zoe, but look at the gold leads shift in the middle of your screen there. You can see it was all green. Now it's basically all orange. Yes, you still have a 2,500 gold lead for xMatty, but that means less and less now that you have a 3-item server.
And he's really your only win condition left. He needs to have some sort of miracle ultimate with the Infernum, just wiping G2 off the board, or he needs to be left untouched for the entire fight. But it's a lot of pressure that falls onto his shoulders when there are so many damage dealers on the side of G2 that just want to rip apart your whole team.
I mean, apart from xMatty, look at the level leads. 2 levels in top lane, 3 levels in jungle, even a level in mid as well. Level 16 for Caps is a huge power spike because they're trying to defend their tier 2. I don't know if this is the tower you want to try and lose your entire game over. Is nice there, bubble there onto Flakked, who does soak it up there with the spell shield, but now it's becoming more difficult and difficult. BDS are being pulled, stretched around the map. They need to make a decision. They try to go onto BrokenBlade, but it's a level 17 Gwen who is immune, and Caps tries to make that one work. Now xMatty without a Tahm Kench to save him, and Caps feeling confident. Caps goes in with the wild growth. They get the knockup. Agresivoo is there. The Moonlight Vigil is pretty decent, but no one goes down for the side of G2. I lie. Caps is finally taken out, and it's a trade-off of a 1-for-1.
I love the aggression from G2. They saw the window, but xMatty saw it too. Quick with the flash, gets him out of harm's way, and they end up trading 1-for-1. Top laner for mid laner. No tower will go down, but the Baron is up and alive. The question is, will BDS use this window to try and go for a gamble play?
Well, they're going to try to see if they catch G2 off of backs right now. They have pretty decent vision to know where Jankos is, so they're kind of saying, look, we're going to call your bluff. You haven't gone back yet. You haven't reset. They do have a TP on BrokenBlade and a TP on Caps. Look at Flakked. Look at Targamas. They're only joining in now. This is the final ditch effort.
Here it comes. xMatty melts through this Baron. Jankos should have information that it has been started.
Here we go. They're going to have the pink ward in the back of the pit. It's going to be 50-50. It's going to be committal. And it's stolen! G2 Jankos will get himself the Baron. And xMatty will just turn back onto these teammates, but he cannot do anything else. Jankos, G2. They just absolutely decimate BDS. You have to go for something.
BDS just cannot find a Baron. Jankos took it away earlier and he takes it away again. With a soul, with a Baron, with a Nexus in their eyes, G2 is looking to go to 7 wins.
And they will destroy their kryptonite, put it into the back of their minds. You only beat G2 Esports once, BDS, and they should be able to get themselves up to 7-5. And all of a sudden, our playoff race is hotting up.
G2, typical in G2 fashion, they're looking for more kills, they're looking for more fights. The ultimate will come out from Cinkrof. Oh, Caps could be in some danger.
Delivered. Delivered to the fountain laser. I'd like to see that, but G2, they've got Flakked on the Nexus. This is going to be the win, and this is going to be them very much securing themselves towards that playoff spot.
A scary start to the game for G2. The early game was looking convincing from BDS. But honestly, it all started around that Drake. Actually, was the Drake earlier or was it that top lane play? Because those two plays in conjunction then...
Which top lane play?
Well, the top lane play where xMatty ends up getting caught was a really big play.
It was, yes, that was the top lane play, then it was the Drake.
Yeah, and then when they even had control around the Drake, they chose to push for that tier 2 tower in the mid lane, and then that's really where things started to fall apart, because G2 suddenly regained a lot of the momentum. They found themselves with a few more items under their belt, and with that, they were able to put themselves in a position where they could actually fight BDS. So it's unfortunate BDS find themselves very close once again, but it's just not quite enough. And G2 are able to snap away the victory.
Yeah, I think it's a bittersweet moment for BDS. There's a lot of positives to take away from them right there. I think their early game had a very definitive plan. They knew exactly what way they wanted to go for it, and they did do pretty good. Just, I gotta admit, like, G2 fans and G2 would have been sweating in those first 15-20 minutes, but the longer the game went on, the more items you got onto this Gwen, it just felt like it just wasn't really going to go your way for BDS. But your key player of the game at LEC on Twitter is between BrokenBlade, Jankos, and Flakked. I think BrokenBlade on Gwen is my vote personally. I think the man, even despite the amount of resources thrown at him by BDS, still became a monster.
I would use this opportunity, Twitter, to vote on who you think had the best mullet. You know, because like Jankos didn't have a mullet, so he's out.
Yeah.
So really it's between BrokenBlade and Flakked as to who you think had the stronger mullet. I never really saw BrokenBlade as a blonde, but I'm digging it. I like it.
I think it's solid.
When I walked up to him earlier, I was saying something looks different about you, and he said,
"Did you get your hair cut?"
What?
Yeah.
And he was just like, I don't understand what you're talking about. And the same as always. And I was like, you know what? That's a great point. Can't believe I never noticed that before. So, you know, G2 trying some, I say different stuff, but to them, it's just another day in the office.
Honestly, they love trying to kind of, throw the curveballs out, in game and out of it as well. See if you can keep people up to date and kind of pushing for it. But yeah, great moves for G2. And again, I got to feel a little bit bad for BDS. It does feel a little heartbreaking. You're kind of moving away from even the idea of a miracle run right now. We were a little tentative to mention it as such, but yeah, it's a tough one, but great for G2. And we're going to send it over to Frankie, who's waiting with caps in his mullet.
Thank you very much. Well, as you can see, I've got a bit of a mullet myself, and Caps, you're making me feel better about the fact that I'm really overdue a haircut. But I've got to ask, if BDS were more experienced and perhaps more confident in facing you guys, do you think actually they would have known when to close out and beaten you today?
I mean, maybe, but both times we went up against BDS, they did manage to get like a lot of early kills on us. And last time they actually managed to close it out. So I'm just happy that this time around we actually pulled it back slowly but surely.
You're being very kind to BDS because it felt like to me that when they beat you last time round in week 2, it was put down to a G2 moment rather than their prowess on the server.
I mean, it's always a bit of both, right? It's them doing some good plays, maybe us falling to it. And I think, yeah, I mean, I'm just happy we got the win this time because we had a lot of losses the last few weeks, and getting some wins now on the board is important.
I wanted to ask you about that. Obviously, a different lineup to 2021, but there was an interview that was released on Invin Global this week, and you called last summer the hardest split of your life. When things did start to go down, the losses did mount up earlier in the split. Did you kind of have any fears about going back to that place?
I don't think so. I mean, I think even when we were losing, like the reasons always felt easy to fix, and the problems always felt easy to fix. I never felt like it was like, I guess, problems that are hard to fix, and like we still had the trust in each other. We still had the ideas of how we would get better, and we showed it last week. we showed it so far, kind of, this week. But hopefully with a win tomorrow, we'll show up strong.
Can I also talk about your relationship with Flakked and BrokenBlade, your newbies, outside of the server? Because I have to say, it was absolutely glorious seeing these guys turn up for the match today. They found the wigs in the makeup room. They're running around having selfies backstage, and the wigs like, what do you think of my do, ladies and gentlemen? What is it like to play with such fun teammates?
I mean, it's just a lot of fun. I mean, they're both like some pranksters. They're always pulling something, and it always brings the mood up, especially when you're losing. It's important having a good mood, right? And I think they are like part of pulling back the mood when we start losing and making sure that we always have a good vibe with the team. And I mean, of course, when you're winning, it makes it easier and more fun.
Oh, touch wood, you're not going to start losing again. You are going to keep winning. Do you feel like playoffs is already secured?
I mean, I don't want to say that yet. Of course, I think that if we make playoffs, then we have a really good shot of winning it. We just have to probably get knocked down to the lower bracket, and then we'll get above. But I have a lot of confidence in all the guys, and I just want to see us at the Worlds.
Yeah, we have our G2 moments. We have our G2 miracle runs as well. Caps, thank you ever so much for talking to me.
Thank you for having me.
We are going to head to a break, but when we come back, we are going to, speak of the devil, have BrokenBlade on the analyst desk for our Fnatic versus Mad Lions free match. That's going to be spicy.
Thank you so much.
Even the biggest champ needs a break.
And some Kit Kat for you, and some Kit Kat for Elder, and some... no Kit Kat for Barrett.
What was happening last season was like we were a bit scaling to playoffs. Right now we are like rock style, like always going really hard, and we want to be like first in the regular season as well, so that's why we are hyped every game.
The Whirling Death catches two. That's another onto Perks. A rampage. 4 unforgiven. 2 more quick kills as Aljoya looks for the 4th.
I think Fnatic's weakness is probably their over-aggressiveness on Hylissang and upset.
Will start out. Razor. 1 more hit needed. It's Hilly with a flash ebb and flow for first blood.
My team is full of superstars, so kinda need to give resources and maybe get carried sometimes.
The package coming out, Cap's gonna be in trouble. Razork unstoppable. He sword on Caps. It's flawless timing, but upset. A monster absolutely